She seems to have realized I don't like her and am toying with her emotions. And she started being exceptionally nice to my sunny, cheerful puppy dog-like younger brother. Later, I saw her kiss his lips while she was drunk. I'm sorry, I mistook you for someone else back then. I was so foolish in my past life I was deceived by him. This life, let me spend my whole life making it up to you, okay? 1. This was the 7th time Eliza Bell had stood me up recently. Standing downstairs from her dorm building, enduring a downpour that my umbrella couldn't fully shield me from, I called her. After 3 busy signals, Eliza finally answered. Sorry, I forgot there was a party tonight. Hearing her nonchalant voice, I gripped my phone tightly, but my tone remained gentle. Where are you? There was a moment of silence from her end, and she hung up. I scoffed, quickly turned, and got into my luxury car. I sent a message to the manager of the bar she frequented. Sure enough, Eliza was there with Ethan Smith partying with a group of rowdy friends. In the video the manager sent, the 2 of them were playing a push-up game as part of Truth or Dare. Eliza was lying on the spacious sofa in the private room, letting Ethan do push-ups over her. I floored the accelerator, and after reaching the bar, I pushed open the door and walked in. The atmosphere seemed to be at its peak. The crowd was egging them on to kiss. Seeing me enter, everyone froze awkwardly in place. Ignoring how others might see me as a fool, I only looked at Eliza and extended my hand to her. Come with me. Eliza frowned, but her expression softened a little when her gaze fell on the wet marks on my suit. It's just an event, what's the big deal? She grumbled as she walked towards me, but Ethan grabbed her hand. Sis, are you leaving already? Sis? What kind of address was that? He should clearly call her sister-in-law because Eliza is my fiancée from an angle Eliza couldn't see. Ethan shot me a provocative smirk, then looked up at her pitifully. That foolish woman Eliza fell for it instantly, completely forgetting about me, her actual fiancé. I'll take you out on the yacht tomorrow. Be good. After placating Ethan, she finally looked at me, her gaze instantly turning cold. Let's go. Maintaining the smile on my face, I let her take my arm and then open the car door for her. Eliza looked indifferent, chatting with Ethan on her phone, clearly not bothered to pay me any attention. Yet, I eagerly presented her with jewelry from her favorite designer, along with a new haute couture dress. Watching her eyes sparkle because of my gift, I tucked her slightly messy bangs behind her ear. Do you like it? Eliza replied curtly. No, but I didn't care. Because I don't like her either. On the way back from the event, I had the driver take Eliza home first, then casually reminded her. Tomorrow is the day our families discuss the engagement. I'll pick you up at noon. Eliza frowned immediately and muttered a curse under her breath. With important business at hand, her yacht trip with Ethan was ruined. I pretended not to hear her resistance and, in a manner no one could fault, reminded her of what to note for tomorrow. But Eliza kicked the back of the driver's seat and ordered coldly, "Go to the Porphyrion Club. We're getting engaged tomorrow, yet my fiancé is going to fool around with my brother tonight." But I smiled and nodded at the driver, signaling him to follow Eliza's instructions. Only because I didn't care about Eliza, but about the power behind her. 2. I've always been the model son of a wealthy family, but I wasn't as favored by my father as Ethan, that illegitimate son. He and his mother, Joyce Astor, who schemed her way up from being a mistress, were just as adept at playing innocent. After my mother died, I had to find a way to latch on to the Bell family's influence. As long as this engagement contract exists, I can smoothly take control of the Smith family. Besides, it's better if she doesn't like me. I can get a smooth divorce later. Humming a little tune, I gave the driver an extra bonus to make up for Eliza's rudeness to him. Back home, after confirming there were no issues with tomorrow's engagement party, I finally slept soundly. The next day at noon, the engagement party started on time, but Eliza didn't show up. Facing the numerous guests and both sets of parents, I maintained a perfect facade and made a casual excuse for Eliza. Mr. and Mrs. Bell, however, called me into the reception room, looking apologetic. Sincere, that child Eliza is still immature. We'll need you to be more understanding. I quickly agreed, assuring them I wouldn't take it to heart. After dealing with them, I received a message. I opened it, and to my shock, it was a selfie from Ethan. He carelessly displayed the hickeys on his body and Eliza sleeping in his arms. Although I was somewhat prepared when I saw Ethan also hadn't shown up at the engagement party. The worst I had anticipated was them having a yacht party together. I never thought they'd actually do this. I kept taking deep breaths, trying to suppress the rage in my heart, but Ethan's face with that provocative smirk kept appearing before my eyes. Ever since we were young, he has always been trying to take what's mine. If he couldn't snatch it outright, he'd use dirty tricks. If the tricks didn't work, he'd play pitiful. But I never bothered to stoop to his level, because I firmly believed that anything he could take away through such means wasn't worth having. But this time, he crossed my line. I'm going to make him pay the price. Standing on the balcony after calling the paparazzi, I let out a cold laugh with a cigarette dangling from my lips. An illegitimate son of a wealthy family caught in bed with his sister-in-law on the day of the engagement party that would definitely be explosive news. Mr. Smith, quite the strategist. I glanced over coldly and saw someone unexpected. A pretty face, a well-proportioned figure it was, to my surprise. My childhood friend, Victoria Miller. Miss Miller, you're back from abroad? She made a playful face and stepped forward to light my cigarette. I heard you were getting engaged today, so of course I had to come back. I didn't expect to walk into some gossip the moment I arrived. I gave a wry smile, not expecting her to witness such a farce. But Victoria urged me to open the video the paparazzi were streaming live, and she leaned in beside me, watching with keen interest. Her fragrance instantly wafted around my nose. I felt a bit uncomfortable and could only turn my attention to the video as well. Several media outlets scrambled upstairs, used the room key I'd pulled strings to get, and kicked open the door. "Ah, what are you doing?" Get out under the incessant camera flashes. The two frantically wrapped themselves in the bedsheet, their disgraceful state completely exposed. I quickly covered Victoria's eyes. Victoria puffed out her cheeks and pulled my hand away. Sincere, I'm not a child anymore. Looking at her adorable, puffed-up appearance, just like when we were kids, my anger completely vanished. 3. Before long, many people knew about this. Although I hadn't let the paparazzi release it yet, there were quite a few well-informed people. After this engagement party, which the hostess missed, Ethan started repeatedly calling his mother Joyce. Because the paparazzi were demanding $15 million, Ethan didn't have my capabilities. He couldn't even manage a branch office, so naturally he didn't have much money on hand. Faced with this, to avoid ruining his image in our father's eyes, he and his mother could only sell off their real estate. Meanwhile, I went to find Eliza and threw a stack of photos in her face. Eliza was initially pale, but seeing my cold expression, she became aggressive. "So what? I never liked you anyway. If you can't accept it, then let's break up." She was clearly the one in the wrong, yet she was acting so brazenly. I clenched my fists, constantly reminding myself to endure. After a sigh, I spoke calmly. $20 million. I bought all the negatives. She froze, her expression changing several times. Finally, she lowered her head, her voice as faint as a mosquito's buzz. "Thank you." I shook my head. "No matter what, I am your fiancé. Your presence at the wedding will be the best reward for me." That sycophantic speech almost made me bite my tongue, but it worked remarkably well. Eliza looked up sharply, tears welling in her eyes. Seeing her nod, I comforted her with a few more words. As I turned to leave the private room, I saw Victoria standing quietly at the door. When she saw me come out, her composed face softened slightly. "What are you doing here?" But Victoria avoided the question and started walking out first. "You like her that much?" I froze, not knowing what to say. It's just a marriage alliance between wealthy families. Where does liking or disliking come into it? Eliza is a fool, which makes her my best option. After marrying her, the Bell family's assets will eventually be mine. Seeing I didn't answer, Victoria chuckled softly and turned to look at me. "Then I wish you a long and happy life together, Victoria," and I parted on bad terms. However, Eliza had been much more subdued lately and hadn't been fooling around with those rowdy friends. At various galas, she even fulfilled her duties as a fiancée.
"Ellie, why aren't you answering your phone?"
Seeing me with Eliza at a social function, Ethan seized an opportunity to approach. He winked at Eliza, but she avoided his gaze. "Is there something you need?" Perhaps because Eliza had never been so cold to him, Ethan instantly looked embarrassed. I originally thought he was quite thick-skinned, otherwise, how could he dare to speak to Eliza again after not even buying back the photos of them being caught? But it turned out he wasn't all that. Unexpectedly, he didn't give up and put on a pleading expression. "Ellie, I want to talk to you. There must be some misunderstanding between us." As he spoke, he glanced at me. I sneered inwardly but pretended to be magnanimous and released my arm from around her. "If necessary, I can step away." But Eliza shook her head and pulled me away. I turned my head and gave the furious Ethan a provocative smile. Of course, Ethan and his scheming mother Joyce were still quite resourceful. When I went home for dinner on the weekend, Auntie Joyce, the one who'd climbed up, casually brought up my marriage to Eliza. Eliza didn't come to the engagement party that day. I was quite worried. Hearing her words, my dad, William Smith, paused while picking up food and looked at me. "Sincere, is everything all right between you and Eliza?" I smiled and shook my head, preparing to say something to dispel his suspicion. But the next second, Ethan left his seat and knelt on the floor. "Father, I've wronged you, and I've wronged my older brother." Although my dad didn't know what had happened, his first instinct was to pull him up. Auntie Joyce also feigned surprise, covering her mouth and exclaiming, "What are you doing? We're all family. Even if you did something wrong, wouldn't your older brother forgive you?" Seeing this, how could I not know what act they were putting on? Isn't it just a drama performance? As if I can't do the same. Ethan pretended to be scared and didn't dare say what happened, but I spoke calmly. "If you're talking about what happened between you and Eliza, I already know." Hearing this, all three of them froze, their expressions quite spectacular. The sheer amount of information overwhelmed my dad. He took a step back and sat down on his chair. Auntie Joyce reacted the fastest, kicking her son in the back of his knee with her sharp high heel. Ethan had just stood up when he stumbled and knelt down again. Seeing his face suddenly turn deathly pale, I sneered inwardly. Now that looked a bit more like a self-inflicted injury to gain sympathy. After a long silence, my dad sighed deeply. "In that case, why don't you let your younger brother have Eliza?" Of course, I knew what he was thinking. It was all the same whether Eliza married me or Ethan, so why not indulge his favored younger son? Could it be that an old fox like him in the business world couldn't see they were constantly playing tricks? It was simply because he thought I, the child whose biological mother died young, wasn't important for the first time ever. I let my face turn cold in the Smith household. But the outside world knows Eliza is my fiancée. My dad's eyes flickered, but he didn't change his mind. Truly laughable. I should have recognized my position in this family long ago, yet I still foolishly hoped he would show me some affection. I took a deep breath and called Eliza. "Can we set the wedding for the 10th of next month?" There was a long silence on the other end, then a crisp yes. I hung up and left that house. After that day, the wedding preparations quickly moved forward. Once Eliza confirmed, even my dad had nothing more to say. Eliza also started asking me out to discuss the wedding arrangements. The night before the wedding, she arranged a candlelight dinner. Noticing she seemed somewhat dejected, I frowned. "Did something happen?" She shook her head, absent-mindedly cutting her steak, the knife and fork scraping gratingly against the plate. After a while, she finally spoke. "I had a dream a while ago. In the dream, the person who saved me when I was little wasn't you. Isn't that funny?" Though she said it was funny, there wasn't a trace of amusement in Eliza's eyes as she looked up and scrutinized me. My heart sank. What did she mean, she had a dream? Considering her recent unusual behavior, everything made sense. Actually, Eliza used to have a good relationship with me and kept her distance from Ethan. But ever since she fell into the water again 2 months ago, She's been like a different person. It was hard not to think of something as outrageous as reincarnation, but no matter how suspicious I was internally, I remained calm on the surface. So you think it was Ethan who saved you? 5. After a long silence, she nodded. Under the candlelight, Eliza looked down, appearing somewhat vulnerable. Tell me the truth, okay? I just found it laughable and scoffed. Have you ever seen Ethan go into the water? He can't even swim. How could he possibly have saved you? But Eliza argued for him, speaking eagerly. But he showed me medical records. The doctor said he developed aquaphobia due to psychological trauma. That was because his scheming mother, Joyce, kicked her own son into the swimming pool to frame me. And aquaphobia? Why not just say he has rabies? I had nothing more to say to Eliza. Even if she believed Ethan saved her, she shouldn't have cheated. Even considering my efforts for her over so many years, she shouldn't have done such a thing at our engagement party. Let's just say he saved you then. Excuse me. Extremely irritated, I left my seat and went to the hallway to light a cigarette. Not long after, Ethan appeared at the end of the corridor holding flowers and then walked into the private room Eliza had booked. He didn't see me, and besides, I'm no saint. So I walked over and quietly watched them through the slightly ajar door. Inside, the cliché scene of the man explaining and the woman not listening was playing out. Ethan knelt on one knee at her feet, gazing at her affectionately. Eliza remained silent, her expression gradually softening. Seeing this, Ethan quickly stood up and hugged her, and Eliza kissed the corner of his mouth. Ethan, I was mistaken about who it was. I will make it up to you. Make it up to him? While being my fiancée, she's going to compensate him. I just felt disgusted. But the wedding was approaching, so I could only suppress the churning in my stomach and pretend to leave casually. To avoid a repeat of the engagement party incident, I hired a professional team to watch Eliza for the wedding. Only when we walked down the aisle together did I finally breathe a sigh of relief. On the altar, the pastor kindly asked if she was willing to marry me. Below were our friends and family. Everything seemed dreamlike and perfect. Eliza said softly, I do. I took out the ring, my hand trembling slightly with excitement. Finally, I could take smooth control of Smith Corp. But just as I was about to slip the ring onto her ring finger, someone knocked it out of my hand. Amidst the uproar from the guests, a panting Ethan appeared between us, tightly gripping Eliza's hand. Ellie, all I want is you. You and my brother are just in a marriage of convenience. Why not follow your heart and marry me? Eliza looked hesitant but didn't pull her hand away from Ethan's. Why was he here? I had clearly instructed security beforehand. It was impossible for him to get past them and appear here. Realizing something, I turned to look at my dad and Auntie Joyce. Auntie Joyce had a gleeful smile on her face, while my dad avoided my gaze. At this point, what was there left not to understand? Mr. and Mrs. Bell also turned to talk with my dad, all of them even wearing hypocritical smiles. Changing the groom on the wedding day, where did that leave my dignity? My face darkened, and I snatched the microphone from the pastor. William Smith, are you sure you won't regret this? Hearing this, my dad instantly flew into a rage, stamping his feet and cursing me. How dare you speak to your old man like that? I'm telling you right now, the marriage contract between the Smith and Bell families will be fulfilled by your younger brother very well. Did you think I didn't have a backup plan? 6. I clapped my hands and immediately, bedroom photos of Ethan and Eliza appeared on the large wedding screen. The MC, waiting on the side, quickly took the microphone and began to narrate with great enthusiasm. These are the photos our young Master Smith bought from the paparazzi for $20 million. Photos of the fiancé and the younger brother caught in a passionate embrace on the day of. The engagement ceremony, completely lost in the moment, everyone. Take a good look. This wedding gift for them is truly precious. Eliza's face instantly turned deathly pale. Her eyes red, she questioned me. Didn't you say that if I came to the wedding? Halfway through, she also realized my condition was simply to get married, but she hadn't even managed that. Ethan panicked, yelling for them to turn off the projector, but no one listened. The guests, enjoying the drama, didn't mind escalating things. Some even jeered for them to put on a live show. Seeing the Bell and Smith families become laughingstocks, my dad trembled with anger and came onto the stage, intending to slap me. "You scoundrel, how could you expose such a thing?" I directly grabbed his wrist and sneered. "They could do it, but I can't talk about it?" He was so angry his face and neck turned red, pointing at me and stammering, You for a long time. Finally, he thought of a way to deal with me. "From today on, I'm kicking you out of the company. Don't even think about touching a single cent from it." I released his hand, feeling no ripple of emotion in my heart as I faced this former relative. "Then we'll see about that." That very night, I directly convened a shareholders' meeting. After so many years of lying low, I had long since bought over many people. Plus, after getting married, I would receive the shares my mother left me, enough for me to control Smith Corp. I had long been prepared for the possibility of not marrying Eliza. After the wedding ceremony ended, I went and registered my marriage with Victoria Miller. Fortunately, we had some childhood friendship, and she was willing to help me through this difficult time. The next day, when Ethan swaggered into the company, he was stopped by security. Immediately after, he called over my dad and Auntie Joyce. My dad, furious, came upstairs and slammed his palm on my desk. "Who let you come to the company?" "I've already decided to give the company to Ethan." "Get out." I cleaned my ear, yawned, and then slowly asked him, "Why didn't you answer your phone last night?" My dad froze, his expression softening a bit. "You brat, begging won't do you any good." "I've already decided." Did he think I was concerned about him? How amusing. If the former CEO had answered his phone last night, he would have known he'd been dismissed. Auntie Joyce still looked gleeful. Clearly, she had put in a lot of effort last night for Ethan's CEO position, so wasn't it natural for her to be smug now? "Sincere, dear, don't talk to your father like that." I sneered and interrupted her. "Did you think I don't know what tricks you used back then? I don't mind putting your affairs on the big screen too, for the entire high society circle to appreciate." After speaking, without even looking at them, I had security escort them out. With my deliberate pushing, the video from the wedding day circulated, and Ethan and Eliza became quite famous. Netizens even started boycotting Smith Corp and Bell Corp products. But after I released the news that I had taken over Smith Corp, its reputation soared, while Bell Corp's stock plummeted alarmingly. Eliza couldn't stand the gossip and directly left the country. Someone even dug up that Auntie Joyce had risen by being a mistress. Now the three of them were utterly disgraced. Even my dad's old friends stopped associating with him. 7. I was riding a wave of success, with endless business banquets. Invited to a charity gala, I saw Victoria Miller. Although we were married, we hadn't publicly acknowledged each other, because we had agreed it was just to help, and I didn't want to hold her back. Just as I was about to go over and greet her, I saw a familiar profile, and a chill ran down my spine. Victoria was arm in arm with Ethan, talking to him and laughing very happily. We were childhood sweethearts. She wouldn't betray me. Thinking this, I managed to steady my emotions and, using the cover of other people, walked towards them. But Ethan noticed me and turned to Victoria with a pitiful expression. "Miss Victoria, you know I've been involved in that kind of scandal." But Victoria didn't seem to care at all, tilting her head up and smiling at him. "You're still young. Unlike some people who are deep schemers, it's normal for you to be plotted against. I admit I'm a deep schemer. If I weren't, it's debatable whether I could have survived Auntie Joyce's clutches for so long. But I thought we were at least friends. She clearly knew how Ethan framed me, so why was she associating with him? I didn't care when my dad favored Ethan, nor when Eliza cheated on me with Ethan. But I couldn't accept Victoria choosing him too. In the past, I would have pondered her motives for marrying me, but right now, I just wanted to get very drunk. At midnight, when my assistant took me home, I saw Victoria sitting on the sofa, waiting for me. Seeing I was back, she immediately smiled and came over. "Look what I brought back for you, ta-da, an original work by the master you admire most." It was the painting auctioned at the charity gala, one of my reasons for attending. Looking at her innocent and bright face, I forced a smile. "Thanks, Vicky." When I woke up the next morning and stepped out of the bedroom, I saw Victoria bustling about. "Come quickly and have some porridge. Is your stomach upset?" She chirped around me like a happy little bird, showing no sign that she was the one who had referred to me as some people. After a moment of silence, I forced myself to chat with her. "I'll just pretend I don't know. After all, this atmosphere was incredibly precious to me." After a busy morning at the company, I received Ethan's bills. My dad always favored his younger son. His bills were sent directly to the company's finance department. Just as I was about to instruct finance to stop paying his bills, I sharply noticed that the items on the bill were all women's bags and dresses. After a moment's thought, I sent Victoria a message and received a reply that she was out shopping. The answer seemed obvious. I was so angry I laughed. If that was the case, then I had even more reason to cancel Ethan's card. Using my money to woo my wife? Dream on. During my lunch break, I was still angry but received a food delivery from Victoria. Delivery from a 5-star restaurant, a privately customized menu quite expensive. But I ate absent-mindedly, constantly thinking of Victoria's face. Indeed, women are all liars. 8. After canceling Ethan's card, the private investigator kept sending me updates. Either Auntie Joyce was selling her jewelry and bags at low prices, or Ethan was borrowing money from various platforms. Perhaps because they hadn't managed to raise enough money quickly enough last time to buy the scandalous photos of Ethan and Eliza, they had learned their lesson. This time, they were going all out, even borrowing money to curry favor with Victoria. They simply wanted to latch onto the Miller family's influence and make a comeback. But they overlooked my dad, William Smith. He had just honorably retired and was extremely bored. I specifically found a group of beautiful women to swarm and charm him like bees to honey. By the time Auntie Joyce and Ethan realized what was happening, a pregnant woman had already made her entrance into the household. At that time, I had also returned to the Smith residence. With just a slight show of weakness, my dad relented. Compared to the current Ethan, who constantly asked him for money, I, his resourceful and successful son, was clearly more to his liking. So, when Auntie Joyce and Ethan returned home after selling their property, they saw me and Mimi Star number 4 accompanying William Smith at the dining table, looking as harmonious as a family of 3 no 4. Auntie Joyce could still maintain a calm facade, but Ethan immediately started shouting, "Father, why did you let him come back? And who is this woman?" William Smith valued his reputation above all. How could he tolerate his younger son defying him? He slammed the table, fuming. "He's your older brother. She's your young stepmother. How dare you speak like that?" Ethan looked at the young stepmother, who wasn't much older than him, and stood there stunned. He probably never imagined his father was this kind of person. Auntie Joyce's eyes reddened, but she still gritted her teeth and forced a smile. "Sister has arrived, old Smith. Why didn't you tell me beforehand?" I coughed lightly, and Mimi immediately caressed her stomach. Her voice was sweet and soft, intentionally showing off. "It's not old Smith's fault. I haven't been well, and this belly is getting noticeably bigger. I need someone to take care of me." William Smith, having a child late in life, couldn't help but say a few more words. "Joyce, you must take good care of Mimi's child. That large apartment downtown you've always wanted? It's yours." Mimi immediately snuggled up, tugging at William Smith's sleeve coquettishly. "I want one too." Seeing Auntie Joyce's and Ethan's faces turn livid with anger, I immediately smiled and took my leave. After returning home, I unexpectedly found Victoria there too. She was dressed in a stunning red dress, gently sipping red wine. Noticing I was home, she stumbled into my arms. Victoria looked up at me, her eyes watery, a faint blush appearing on her usually fair face. "Sincere, we've been married for so long. Are you going to make me live like a widow forever?" I swallowed hard, trying to remain calm. "Vicky, this isn't right." I pushed her away, but she tenaciously hugged me again. "What's not right about it? Are you saying you don't like me?" Being stared at by a stunningly beautiful girl with tearful eyes, even a god couldn't resist that, but I couldn't take advantage of her. Seeing I didn't speak for a long time, she pouted. I must be the biggest fool in the world. I've liked you for so many years, yet I haven't gotten even a tiny bit of response. Hearing this, I froze, followed by immense joy. Seeing she was about to turn and leave, I quickly hugged her. I like you too, really 9. Knowing we liked each other, I felt completely elated. But Victoria's private interactions with Ethan still felt like a thorn in my side. Finally, I couldn't help but ask. But Victoria burst into peals of laughter, sprawling in my arms and refusing to get up. Just because of something like this, you were going to reject this young lady's advances? I was a bit confused. Her reaction was indeed rather strange. I had originally prepared for her to become angry out of embarrassment, but I didn't expect her to react as if she'd heard something amusing. She snuggled lazily in my arms and called Ethan. My family wants to meet you. Yes, book the best restaurant, bring the best gift. See you this afternoon. Listening to their conversation, my arms around Victoria couldn't help but tighten. After hanging up, she winked at me. When dealing with this kind of social climber, isn't it best to strike when he thinks he's about to get everything? Indeed. But remembering what she said that day, I still feigned a sigh. But some people are young, not like certain deep schemers. Victoria hit me playfully. If I didn't belittle you, would he trust me? Besides, what's wrong with being a deep schemer? I love it when you're calculating against others. I laughed out loud and couldn't help but kiss that boastful little mouth. After we got ready, Victoria pulled me to the restaurant Ethan had booked. Ethan was dressed to the nines. Seeing Victoria and me appear together, the smile froze on his face. Victoria let go of my hand and walked over to greet him. Ethan was momentarily confused. After glancing at my expression, he leaned close to Victoria's ear. "Vicky, what's going on?" A faint smile played on Victoria's lips as she pulled me over again. "Didn't I say my family wanted to meet you?" He nodded, then straightened his posture, his gaze towards me filled with added disdain. I could guess his thoughts. So what if we were childhood sweethearts? He could easily win over any woman by my side. But the next second, Victoria ruthlessly shattered his illusion. She said, "Let me introduce you. This is my husband." How is a husband not family? I smiled and put my arm around Victoria's waist, my mockery dialed up to the maximum. Ethan trembled with anger, glaring at Victoria. "You tricked me? I spent so much money on you. How could you trick me?" Seeing he was about to rush forward and hit Victoria, I mercilessly kicked him in the stomach. While he was on the ground, trying to ease the pain, I pressed him firmly to the floor. "Ethan, I advise you to think clearly about the consequences. The Miller family is not to be trifled with." Hearing this, he stopped struggling. Seeing he was sensible enough, I sneered and released him. Who knew he would immediately start playing pitiful? What a chameleon. "Vicky, I just lost my head in anger. Tell me, none of this is real, right?" Meeting Ethan's expectant gaze, Victoria nonchalantly shook her head. "That's right, I tricked you. Who told you to bully my Sincere?" Ethan took 2 steps forward, trying to grab Victoria's hand, but I blocked him. He still didn't give up, begging with a tearful face. "Vicky, I know you're not short of money. Can you please return the things I gave you? I'm begging you." Victoria chuckled lightly, clearly not taking his words to heart. "Although I never said Sincere and I were married, I did tell you we were dating. I'll just consider these gifts as congratulations from a younger brother to his sister-in-law." Ethan's face instantly darkened. "You'll regret this." I escorted Victoria out, responding nonchalantly. "Then we'll see." 10. Although I acted indifferent, I immediately called that resourceful Mimi. That night, a major incident occurred at the Smith residence. When I rushed to the hospital, I heard crying in that sweet, soft voice. "William, it was Ethan who pushed me, my baby. It was a boy." My dad tightly held the woman's hand, constantly comforting her softly. Auntie Joyce stood to the side, looking devastated, her face as pale as paper, yet still trying to defend her son. "Sister, I know you're very anxious about losing the baby, but how can you prove it was Ethan who pushed you?" Hearing this, Mimi cried even more heartbrokenly. "Just yesterday, I went to the hospital for a checkup. William and I had just found out it was a boy. If not your son, who else would do it? The implication in these words was clear. My dad's face instantly darkened. I entered the hospital room at the opportune moment, and Auntie Joyce immediately pointed at me. Looking at it this way, Sincere is more suspicious, isn't he? How can you suspect my son? My dad looked at her in shock as if seeing her for the first time. Joyce, I've seen Sincere's behavior all these years. How can you slander him? Didn't you say you'd treat him like your own son? But I laughed inwardly. For so many years, Auntie Joyce had pretended to be a good stepmother. I didn't expect her true colors to be exposed at this moment. On the surface, however, I frowned as if misunderstood and kindly reminded my dad. Dad, hasn't our old family home had surveillance cameras installed? We can just take a look at the footage, can't we? Under Auntie Joyce's incredulous gaze, I took my dad's phone and pulled up the surveillance footage. The camera at the top of the stairs captured it clearly. After Mimi said something to him, Ethan suddenly rushed towards Mimi. Smack, the phone fell to the ground with a loud thud. Auntie Joyce, panting heavily, kicked the phone hard twice. Slap this time, it was the sound of my dad's palm hitting her face. My dad was furious, wishing he could slap her again. You've disappointed me too much. Where's Ethan? Get him here for me. Auntie Joyce's lips trembled, unwilling to say. She probably wanted to wait until my dad calmed down, but how could I let this opportunity slip? After I winked at Mimi, she burst into loud sobs again. William, call the police. You have to make the person who harmed our child pay the price. Seeing my dad frown, I quickly interjected. We're all family. How can we call the police? A glimmer of hope suddenly appeared on Auntie Joyce's grim face. I raised an eyebrow and delivered the finishing blow. Why not send him to a disciplinary school abroad for a while? Consider it atonement for Auntie Mimi's child. Seeing me offer a way out, my dad nodded. Although Ethan avoided jail time, he was in my hands, so suffering was inevitable. Besides, making someone disappear abroad seems to be a very easy thing to do. Amidst Auntie Joyce's tearful pleas, I calmly walked out of the hospital room. Ethan is finished. Shouldn't I celebrate this properly with my wife? End of story. My wife, a top jewelry designer, always insisted I be the first to wear and showcase her new pieces. So when a rising star actor hit the entertainment headlines, stealing the show with a particular brooch, I called her immediately. I demanded to know why something I hadn't even worn yet was appearing on someone else. She was nonchalant. I can design as many as you want, but without this piece, he wouldn't have had his chance to make headlines. I owed him a favor. I had to repay it. Try to be understanding. Yet, in an interview, she turned around and publicly dissed me. Ethan suits this design much better than my husband. I pursue the art of beauty, not turning art into a tool for chasing fame and fortune. I scoffed and immediately called HR. Victoria Ashworth has leaked company secrets. Fire her immediately. Let's see how she pursues her art without me. Chapter 1. Not 10 minutes after the notice went out, Victoria Ashworth burst into my office. Sincere Clark, on what grounds are you firing me? Just because of that brooch? How many times have I told you? It was just repaying a favor. Can you stop being so petty? The door was open. The blinds weren't drawn. Through the glass walls, countless curious eyes were glancing this way. Fine. I slammed my hand on the desk and laid it all out. Me, petty? You're the generous one, aren't you? Using company secrets to repay favors. Victoria Ashworth, don't tell me you didn't know this brooch was custom made for the St. Cini show. St. Cini was a scorching hot couture brand. To promote their new collection, they specifically sought out Clark Jewels, the leader in the jewelry industry, to collaborate on a major fashion show. At the show, St. Cini's head designer would unveil a couture suit he'd spent 3 years designing. As the jewelry provider, and leveraging the Clark family's status, I was naturally chosen to debut it. To complement this suit, I had specifically asked Victoria to design the brooch 3 months in advance. I even spent over $10 million at auction on a stunning Zambian emerald, just to perfectly realize her design. But with 2 simple words, a favor, she handed over our joint effort, our masterpiece, to someone else. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got, and I let out a sarcastic jab. With that one gift, you threw away millions of dollars. Your sense of obligation is truly monumental, isn't it? Victoria snorted, her expression arrogant, as if certain I was just blowing off steam and wouldn't actually fire her.
So what? The fashion show is still half a month away. I can design another one for you.
But if you fire me, you'll really have no options left. She stepped closer, leaning on the desk, looking down at me. Sincere Clark, don't forget this brooch is already commanding astronomical prices. Everyone in the circle wants it. Without me, where will you find a better designer? Even if you do, can you guarantee they can surpass the legend this brooch has created? I glared back at her, my presence equally imposing. You think you're the only genius designer in the world? Let me tell you, Victoria Ashworth, just as I had the discerning eye to discover you and build you up, I can just as easily tear you down and throw you back into the mud hearing this. She didn't flinch. Instead, she became bolder, a malicious smile spreading across her face. Fine, then I'll be waiting to see it with that. She slapped the signed termination agreement onto the desk, held her head high, and strode out of the office on her heels. Mere minutes after she left, my secretary rushed in, frantic. Mr. Clark, this is bad. Ms. Ashworth destroyed all the design drafts, Chapter 2. What, how dare she? My eyes widened in disbelief. As the head of the design department, all company designs passed through Victoria's hands for final polishing and approval. Her destruction meant the next quarter's new collection likely couldn't launch on time. No wonder she was so audacious. The secretary nervously wiped sweat from his brow. Mr. Clark, should we maybe ask her to come back? I slammed the desk again, and I, Sincere Clark, stand by my word, backing down to Victoria Ashworth now would be playing right into her hands. And put the next quarter's collection on hold for now. The immediate priority is the St. Cini show. But the design sketches, the secretary murmured worriedly. I looked at my computer, a faint smile playing on my lips. I have a plan. Half a month later, the St. Cini fashion show proceeded as scheduled. When I appeared as the finale model, wearing a silver-threaded charcoal gray suit, all eyes were drawn to the emerald brooch on my chest. Tiny white diamonds encircled 3 Colombian oil-free emeralds, forming the shape of an olive branch. The fire of the emeralds shone mysteriously and elegantly under the runway lights. It complemented the suit's noble austerity without overshadowing the brilliance of the jewels. After a moment of silence, the audience erupted in thunderous applause and gasps of admiration. Camera flashes never ceased. Candid photos leaked by various media outlets and bloggers quickly caused a sensation online. As soon as I returned to the dressing room and checked my phone, the top 3 trending topics were dominated by this brooch. In the comments section, netizens marveled. So beautiful it outshines the camera flashes. Is this the power of 3 emeralds? Forget the sparkle. Did anyone notice the model is Sincere Clark, the heir to Clark Jewels? A true tycoon with serious money. Oil-free emeralds are almost as rare as pink diamonds, and Mr. Clark has 3, all from the best Colombian source. I'm completely devoted. And the largest one is 10 carats, that's 2 carats more than Ethan Miller's piece. This must be worth several fortunes. I smiled, just about to change and head home. Suddenly the door burst open. Sincere Clark, where did you get the design draft without me? I asked you for a 10-carat main stone back then, and you clearly said you didn't have one. You lied to me. Victoria was livid, practically seeing red. I leaned back in my chair, watching her composedly. Clark Jewels has such a vast inventory, it's perfectly normal for me to forget some details.
Ms. Top Designer, I told you, you're not the only talented person in the world.
With the Clark family's resources, we can find as much talent as we need. Besides, if you hadn't vacated your position, I wouldn't have known we had such a rare genius hidden within Clark Jewels. Just as I finished speaking, a young woman in her early 20s, holding a stack of drafts, squeezed past Victoria and respectfully handed the designs to me. Mr. Clark, here are the proofs for the next quarter's new collection. Please review them. The moment she lifted her head, Victoria's eyes trembled. It's you, Chapter 3. Isabel Davis met Victoria's gaze calmly. Miss Ashworth, long time no see. This greeting was like adding fuel to the fire for Victoria.
Well, Sincere Clark, no wonder you were so calm. Turns out you'd already found my replacement.
You reject me, a top designer, to promote some greenhorn with no track record. Her gaze flickered between Isabel and me, then realization dawned. Sincere Clark, you're such a hypocrite. Me repaying Ethan Miller's cheating, but you keeping a young mistress is perfectly acceptable. You were so eager to fire me just to promote her, weren't you? Isabel Davis was a junior designer under Victoria. Whenever I occasionally visited the design department to see Victoria, I'd always notice Isabel glued to her workstation, drawing, often until the early hours of the morning. The night Victoria took that brooch to fawn over Ethan Miller, I went looking for her and found her office empty. Instead, I stumbled upon Isabel's design drafts, exquisitely conceived, with a unique aesthetic sense, easily rivaling, if not surpassing, Victoria's work. I immediately had HR pull Isabel's file. Modest background, but outstanding academic achievements. She had worked her way into a prestigious art college, studied abroad on a scholarship, and had a full page of awards to her name. Yet, at Clark Jewels, she remained an obscure junior designer. After asking around, I learned that Victoria had been deliberately suppressing her, preventing her promotion. She even altered Isabel's brilliant designs, making them mediocre. I had intended to promote Isabel unconventionally, but then Victoria threw her tantrum, making it easy to let Isabel take over this project. Clark Jewels values competence above all. We disdain petty office politics. I reprimanded her sharply. Victoria Ashworth, don't assume everyone is as sordid as you are. Putting aside whether it's true or not, you climbed to your position relying on me. Are you saying no one else is allowed to follow a similar path? Or perhaps you have absolutely no confidence, and the mere presence of another woman by my side sends you into a complete meltdown? Hitting a raw nerve, Victoria exploded. She stormed forward, snatched the drafts from my hand and threw them into the air. What do you mean I relied on you? The status I, Victoria Ashworth, have today is purely due to my talent and your Clark family. Without my designs, without my years of painstaking effort, would you have achieved what you have today? The papers fluttered down around us. Looking at the sheer rage on her face, my heart felt like it had been doused with ice water. Victoria Ashworth, have some decency. If I hadn't pulled you from the rejected list back then, given you resources, given you connections, would you be where you are now? This ugly attitude you have now, does it do justice to me, to the Clark family? Before I could finish, Victoria grabbed a nearby vase and smashed it violently on the floor. Shards flew, cutting my arm and cheek. Isabel reacted instantly, catching Victoria's arm just as she was about to slap me, restraining her tightly. At that moment, a phone rang, shattering the tense atmosphere. Victoria wrenched free from Isabel, pulled out her phone, and answered. After listening for just a few seconds, her face changed dramatically. Ethan, don't worry, I'm on my way right now, Chapter 4. Following her to the hospital, I learned that Ethan Miller had broken his arm on set. He was now leaning weakly against Victoria's shoulder, looking vulnerable and wronged. Vicky, I'm fine. I just got distracted reading the news and missed my step, that's all. Victoria's brow furrowed tightly. Was it the news about Sincere Clark? Ethan nodded weakly. Vicky, please don't blame Mr. Clark either. It was my fault for wearing his brooch in the first place. I was in the wrong. Whatever he does to target me, I can understand. It's just that you got implicated and fired from Clark Jewels. Even him being suspicious because you took care of me a little. Victoria sighed, managing a wry smile. You silly boy. That year I couldn't swim. I fell into the river and you saved my life. To repay that kindness, I'd do anything for you. Standing outside the half-closed door, through the crack, I could see the tenderness on her face, a tenderness she hadn't shown me in a long time. It was as if the person who had been furious and nearly violent towards me an hour ago was someone else entirely. Hearing her words, Ethan sniffled and sat up straighter in her embrace. Is it really just to repay the kindness? Victoria's eyes flickered away for a second. But quickly, she pulled him back into her arms, closed her eyes, and let out a long sigh filled with resentment. Sometimes I often think, if I hadn't met Sincere Clark back then, would things be different for us? Would we have fallen in love and gotten married in that small town? I'd paint my pictures, you'd sing your songs. Even if we lived in obscurity forever, no one would be happier than us. I think about it day and night, even in my dreams. She grasped Ethan's hand, the love swirling in her eyes stinging my heart. Ethan, do you know? Sometimes when I'm holding him, kissing him, even when we're in bed, all I can think about is you. Hearing this, a wave of nausea rose in my throat. So, from that early on, her heart had been split in two. Or perhaps from the very beginning, her affection, her love for me, had all been fake. She was only interested in the status and power behind the Clark name. I fought down the urge to gag and continued watching. Ethan blushed, struggling to avoid her intense gaze. Vicky, don't joke around. I know I can't compare to Mr. Clark. Without Mr. Clark, your talent would never have been discovered. Compared to living in obscurity, I'd rather see you stand taller, let the whole world see your talent. No, you don't understand. Victoria cut him off angrily. Do you know what people outside say about me? Gold digger, slept her way to the top, relied on marrying into wealth to get where I am today. The talent you speak of, in their eyes, it's worthless. But even without marrying him, I, Victoria Ashworth, have the ability to reach this position on my own. Sincere Clark's name has overshadowed me for too long. All my achievements are buried under his brilliance. His family, relying on their power and money, treated me like a workhorse. The slightest displeasure, and they exclude me. They want to ruin my reputation, don't they? They want me to admit I'm nothing without the Clark family, don't they? Well, I won't give them the satisfaction. I want the whole world to hear my name. I will trample Sincere Clark and the entire Clark family under my feet. She spat out each word, a litany of accusations. Yet she failed to mention how I ran around, pulling strings, finding collaborations to bring her designs to life. How, to showcase her art, I bought gems from the best mines, bid on the finest stones. How I handled the networking events she didn't want to attend, the business deals she didn't want to negotiate. How I gave her full creative control, letting her take sole credit for all her work. Supported her jewelry exhibitions. Supported her opening a personal studio, supported her pursuit of the art she claimed to love. It was her who couldn't bear to leave my side, willingly becoming a regular office employee clocking in and out, just so she could be near me every day. How did I end up being the controlling tyrant, exploiting her, using her talent for free, dragging her art through the mire of fame and profit? How did our Clark family, who invested money and effort in her, become the irredeemable villains bent on destroying her? Rage surged within me, emotions suppressed for too long finally erupting. I kicked the door open. Fine, you want to prove yourself to everyone, don't you? Then starting today, you are no longer the Clark family's daughter-in-law. We are getting divorced, Chapter 5. Victoria clearly hadn't expected me to be outside. She reacted, about to argue back. But Ethan stepped in front of her, facing me, his eyes red. Mr. Clark, please don't listen to Vicky. She's just saying things in anger. As she still loves you. As long as you two are okay, I'd rather you take your anger out on me. Ethan, why are you still wasting your breath on him? Victoria pulled Ethan behind her, her face filled with protectiveness, instantly replaced by fury as she looked at me, Sincere Clark. Don't think you can threaten me with divorce. Let me tell you, I never loved you. Not from the beginning, yes. I was after your money and your power, but that was before now. I have my own. I don't need your pity if it weren't for you. If you didn't exist, the only person I would have married is Ethan with that. She tilted Ethan's chin up and kissed him fiercely. Ethan was stunned for a moment, but soon he responded, seemingly content. Right in front of me, they kissed passionately, like lovers facing imminent death before the apocalypse. After a long moment, Victoria finally released Ethan, seeing the strand of saliva connecting their lips, the desire swirling in their eyes as they looked at each other. I suppressed the rising bile, strode forward, raised my right hand, the one Victoria had cut, and slapped her hard across the face. "Victoria Ashworth, you absolutely disgust me." Victoria touched her reddened cheek. She lifted her chin, defiantly glaring at me. "Sincere Clark, feel better now? You wanted a divorce? Fine, I grant it to you now. Just don't come crying back to me later. I don't know how I eventually left the hospital. All I knew was that Isabel Davis followed me the entire way. Back home, I called my lawyer and drafted the divorce agreement. Then, I threw Victoria's belongings out, piece by piece. The luxurious custom gowns, the exclusive lipstick shades ordered from abroad for her, the matching couple outfits from our early dating days, and every piece of jewelry she had personally designed for me. Finally, all that remained was the wedding ring on my hand, the one we designed together. It featured 2 diamonds, sourced from the same mine, identical in weight. An heirloom passed down since my great-grandfather's time in the early 20th century, symbolizing eternal unity, heart and soul together. I had specifically designed a small mechanism allowing the 2 rings to fit together perfectly, forming one larger, more magnificent diamond ring. Victoria rarely wore hers out. She said it was too precious, afraid she might damage it. I foolishly believed her then. Now, it seemed clear she was merely afraid the ring would hinder her reunion with her old flame. I took off my ring, joined the 2 pieces together, still hesitating whether to discard them as well. Turning, I saw Isabel Davis, who had been quietly helping me pack. An idea struck me, and I handed the combined ring to her. Isabel looked slightly surprised. I quickly explained, "I don't want this ring anymore, but the diamonds are important. Take a month off. I need you to redesign this into something new. It's a separate commission, paid extra, at the highest industry rate." Isabel took the ring, stunned. "But the new collection for next quarter..." I clapped my hands, pulling myself out of the mire of love and hate, reigniting my fighting spirit. "Those drafts are approved. I'll handle the follow-up. Your most important task now is completing this commission for me." Isabel was the type to sacrifice everything for design. The very next day, she became completely unreachable. Fortunately, the remaining work for the new collection only involved selecting pieces, prototyping, and production. I threw myself into work. Apart from a quick trip to City Hall to finalize the divorce, my life became a 2-point line between the office and home, often working until 2 or 3 in the morning. Just as I finally reached the 3-day mark before the new product launch campaign, the secretary burst into my office in panic. "Mr. Clark, terrible news. Victoria Ashworth bought sponsored posts and is accusing us of plagiarism all over the internet." Chapter 6. Victoria was accusing us of plagiarizing the emerald brooch designed for the St. Cini show. She had somehow obtained a digital final draft marked March 17th. The design on it was almost identical to the brooch I wore. Holding up her ID card in a video, she tearfully accused Clark Jewels of discarding her after exploiting her work, stealing her design, and firing her without cause. In the accusation video, she didn't mention me by name, but the sponsored articles she paid for were full of me. Gossip sites and influencers hyped up her devoted wife persona, rebranding her past labels of gold digger and social climber into a narrative of deep love. They finished by taking a swipe at me, insinuating there's no true love in high society, and how a loving young woman was tragically betrayed. Naturally, netizens quickly dug up information about me, the actual power holder at Clark Jewels. Following the trail, they also uncovered Isabel Davis. Soon, rumors of an inappropriate relationship between Isabel and me were flying everywhere. The trending topics exploded. The positive image I had previously cultivated was instantly tarnished beyond recognition. Public opinion overwhelmingly sided with Victoria. See, rich guys always have mistresses, and I actually believed in the CEO falls for commoner fairy tale. I always thought Victoria Ashworth was a gold digger, but turns out she's deeply devoted and talented. Talent means nothing. Small-town overachievers are destined to be manipulated by the rich and powerful. A homewrecker who slept her way up can easily take her down. Didn't realize the jewelry world was so full of nepotism. Where's the path for hard workers like us? Totally empathize with Victoria Ashworth now. By marketing her small-town origins and devoted persona, Victoria quickly garnered massive sympathy. Within just 2 days, she was elevated to near sainthood. Her previous designs were unearthed and praised one by one. The jewelry she had sold became highly sought-after collector's items. Her follower count across various platforms skyrocketed, nearing 100 million combined. Countless media outlets scrambled to interview her exclusively. Even the small town she grew up in became a hot tourist spot overnight. Her fame surpassed even the heights she reached when I was promoting her. Meanwhile, Clark Jewels, cast as the villain, faced a relentless barrage of sarcastic and accusatory comments on its official accounts. All our stores were flooded with negative online reviews. People called us plagiarism thieves, greedy capitalists, saying we deserved to be strung up. Some irrational individuals even resorted to vandalism and looting at our physical stores, forcing us to temporarily close for adjustments. Even St. Senny, our collaborator, was affected, facing boycotts both online and offline. Due to the negative publicity, Clark Jewels' stock price plummeted for days, quickly alarming the board of directors. As the person in charge, I was given an ultimatum: resolve all disputes within 7 days or resign. I was frantic, sending people to track down Isabel, who was off the grid somewhere in her creative seclusion. Then Victoria called. "Sincere Clark, regretting it yet?" Her voice was cheerful, clearly relishing my current predicament. I sneered. "I regret not crushing you completely sooner, and I especially regret ever building you up." She remained smug on the other end. "Since you still refuse to back down, just wait and watch Clark Jewels crumble. Don't come crying to me for shelter then. Although if you're willing to kneel and beg, maybe I'll consider giving you a job as my driver. Victoria Ashworth, in your dreams go eat dirt." I cursed her out and slammed down the phone. To say I wasn't angry would be a lie. But that call sparked an idea. I quickly sent several files to my secretary: contact those same gossip sites and online trolls Victoria hired. Tell them I'll pay 10 times their price. Make sure this information spreads like wildfire. Bigger the better, Chapter 7. I chose not to respond directly to the plagiarism accusations, even instructing everyone in the company not to engage. Half a day later, damaging information about Victoria began appearing online. Since it came from the same batch of gossip accounts, even if some suspected Clark Jewels was behind it, those suspicions were drowned out by a new wave of public opinion. Victoria staged the whole thing. Everyone involved in the plagiarism scandal is dirty. Victoria had been defiant, leaving the marriage with nothing. Although she made a significant amount of money from the publicity generated by her accusations, it was nowhere near enough to pay 10 times my offer for counter-publicity. Moreover, people in the upper echelons don't shy away at the first sign of scandal like online netizens do. The Clark family had operated in the jewelry circle for generations. Even though tarnished by rumors, our foundation, connections, and influence remained vast. No one dared to disrespect the Clark family before we were truly finished. With a single word, I could ensure no media outlet would take Victoria's business. But that alone wasn't satisfying enough. Victoria struck first without mercy, so I would respond in kind. While her popularity was still high, I pressed the advantage, leaking the story of how she stole the Clark Jewels brooch to curry favor with her old flame. This time, not just the jewelry world, but the entertainment industry exploded. The rising star actor Ethan Miller was immediately branded a male homewrecker. Rival fan groups and anti-fans swarmed his comment sections in gleeful celebration. Paparazzi, smelling blood, released over a dozen intimate photos. even more comprehensive than what I had. The previously one-sided public opinion began to slowly shift in my favor. Didn't expect Victoria Ashworth to be such a cheater. No wonder Clark Jules fired her and she left with nothing. Serves her right. No wonder she was pushing the devoted wife narrative so hard. Her husband really drew the short straw marrying her. This is pure corporate espionage, and claiming it was repaying a favor? Just excuses for a gold digger. That was a loss of millions. Sincere Clark handled it directly, didn't jeopardize the Saint Cine collab. A true role model. Netizens debated back and forth, and the plagiarism rumors started to crumble. Just as the online arguments reached fever pitch, my phone rang. 2 messages came in. One from Isabel Davis, finally reachable, Mr. Clark. I will provide an explanation regarding the plagiarism issue. One from the CEO of Ethan Miller's management agency, Mr. Clark, would you happen to be free for dinner sometime in the next couple of days? I smiled and agreed to both. 2 days later, Isabel started a live-streamed clarification. In front of all viewers, she opened the folder containing her design drafts. She displayed them one by one, in chronological order, and coincidentally, one of the drafts was the exact one Victoria had used as evidence. The date was also March 17th. Victoria, who had just joined the live stream, saw this and immediately piped up. My draft is in your possession, and you still claim you didn't plagiarize? You can call me Victoria Ashworth, a gold-digging cheater, but you will not question my art. She sounded righteous, like a martyr preparing for noble sacrifice. Many netizens were swayed, abandoning their neutral gossip-mongering to take sides. The chat exploded with fiery arguments between the 2 factions. Isabel, however, ignored everyone. She calmly zoomed in on the draft, highlighting a tiny, inconspicuous area in the bottom right corner of the brooch design with a red circle. Then, tracing the pattern within the circle, she meticulously drew 2 ornate letters, YX. The moment these letters appeared, the previously clamorous live stream fell instantly silent. Isabel put down her stylus and looked calmly into the camera. Then may I ask, Ms. Ashworth, why does your draft contain my signature? Chapter 8. It's a personal habit of mine when drafting, Isabel explained. I like to integrate my initials in an ornate script into the pattern of the piece. During production, due to process limitations, the signature isn't visible on the final product. She then proceeded to circle similar hidden signatures on her other works. This has always been my method for protecting my drafts from theft. Surely, Ms. Ashworth, you don't do the same? Or perhaps, Ms. Ashworth, you've changed your name to Yixuan, Isabel's Chinese name implicitly referenced here for the Wex, perhaps? This swift, brutal takedown caused the livestream viewership to explode. In just 30 seconds, likes surged by over 100,000, with millions tuning in. Isabel gave Victoria no chance to respond, immediately displaying a folder full of chat logs. She scrolled through them for the audience, one by one. They were all work conversations between her and Victoria. Frequently, Isabel would submit a design, and Victoria would nitpick relentlessly, finding fault with everything, forcing her to revise late into the night. In the most egregious instance, she made Isabel revise through the entire night. Victoria didn't show up for work until 3 p.m. the next day, only to casually reply with 3 words, too ugly. Redo. Those highly creative original drafts were ultimately mangled beyond recognition by Victoria. Victoria constantly engaged in psychological manipulation, calling Isabel stupid, incompetent, unable to understand simple instructions. The final straw that ignited netizens' fury was a haughty message from Victoria. So what if you have talent? Your background dictates your ceiling. As long as I'm at Clark Jules, you will never climb higher with that. Victoria's carefully crafted persona of the relatable small-town overachiever collapsed into ruins. Deceived netizens furiously erupted. Small-town girl backstabs. Another small-town girl forgets her roots the moment she climbs the social ladder. If the boss hadn't promoted her, she'd still be earning minimum wage like anyone else. Everyone stop giving her attention, otherwise, once this blows over, she'll rebrand as an artsy influencer. Waves of ridicule and anger flooded the live chat. Seeing Victoria still trying to struggle, I, having watched silently for long enough, jumped into the fray. Victoria Ashworth, instead of flailing desperately here, why don't you go watch the drama unfold in your old Flames live stream? Not even a second after I posted, Victoria's avatar vanished from the corner of the screen. Along with her disappeared countless curious netizens, all flocking simultaneously to Ethan Miller's live stream. The stream showed a press conference. Ethan Miller sat on stage, dressed plainly. Below, a crowd of reporters from media outlets big and small had gathered, cameras flashing incessantly. Ethan, eyes red, spoke into the microphone, his voice choked with emotion. Regarding the recent controversies, I want to apologize to everyone. I wish to clarify that I did indeed save designer Victoria Ashworth's life once. However, I was unaware that the brooch she gifted me was stolen property, nor did I know it was a key piece for Clark Jewels' major event. Upon learning the truth, I was deeply dismayed. Through mediation arranged by my company, I have reached an understanding with Mr. Sincere Clark. The brooch has now been returned, and I have compensated him for the damages. As for Victoria Ashworth and myself, apart from the life-saving incident, there is no improper relationship. As rumored online, the words had barely left his mouth when the main doors of the conference hall were kicked open. Ethan Miller, you scumbag. Chapter 9. Victoria Ashworth appeared in the live stream, utterly disheveled. She strode to the front of the stage, pointing at Ethan Miller and screaming, "Say again what our relationship is. Did I force you to sleep with me? Did I force you to be my boyfriend? I gave up the heir to the Clark fortune for you. I threw away such a promising future. I didn't even care about my reputation. And now you're saying there's nothing between us?" Her eyes were bloodshot, veins bulging on her forehead, her shouts deafening. Ethan Miller was terrified, frantically trying to save face. "No, that's not it. I just think we're fine as we are now. Vicky, I don't dislike you. It's just that now I have no money and no reputation, and I'll have to depend on you, so you look down on me, right? I'm useless to you now, right? Don't you forget who pulled you into the entertainment industry in the first place, and who risked being fired just to get you one headline." Victoria seemed completely unhinged, staring at Ethan's pale face. Did the reporters scream and scatter in panic? The live stream was cut off at that moment. The final frame lingered on Victoria's vicious, blood-splattered smile. I clamped my hand over my mouth, retching into a wastebasket. Only now did I truly grasp what kind of twisted psycho the person I had shared my bed with truly was. From the very beginning, everything I saw, everything I fell in love with, was her meticulous facade. I couldn't bear to imagine if I had continued to indulge her, whether I would have met the same fate as Ethan Miller. The only thing I could be certain of was that now, everything was finally settled. Victoria Ashworth was quickly apprehended. During her incarceration, I paid off people inside to torment her day and night. Soon the verdict came down. Due to the heinous nature of the crime, the brutal methods, and the immense public impact, she was sentenced directly to death. Fortunately, our jurisdiction still carried out executions. All her crimes could be properly answered for, providing a definitive end for everyone involved, the end a criminal deserved. The online storm gradually subsided, and the company returned to normal operations. In fact, thanks to the reverse publicity, Clark Jewels even managed to capture a younger market segment. I gave Isabel Davis free rein in design, and for several consecutive quarters, sales figures soared. Those old board members who disliked me could only watch in silence. Before the launch of this year's winter collection, I received a letter sent from prison Victoria's last words before her execution. A letter from a murderer would only be nauseating to read. I didn't open it. I burned it completely, and with it, I burned away all the years of love and hatred I had felt for her. As the sun rose again, I thought I heard the distant sound of a gunshot. But what did it matter? I wrapped my coat tighter around me, my leather shoes clicking on the pavement as I walked, step by step, towards the new product launch stage, embracing the brilliant future that belonged to me. The end.